We're moving into to our tribunal now, which is kind of the last session was like kind of the meat and potatoes. We got a couple of questions. We hear a strange sound in the woods. All of a sudden, we're surrounded by orcs. Roll initiative. The question is, we've seen a lot of this particular question asked. A lot of barbs really thrown at D&D 5th edition about how how it falls down and how ICRPG improves upon those things because it kind of discards useless items and stuff. My question: what is the thing what is the thing that you dislike about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition? Now, I'm not meaning this to be like a hit piece, but it comes up a lot. Man, I can't stand that about 5th edition. I'm just curious what your guys' barbs are about those. What do you think?
Man, I think I'm gonna go with I dislike the attitude of the community behind D&D 5th edition.
Oh wow, okay.
That's gonna be hard because a lot of people here and maybe viewers they love D&D, and
sure.
I don't mind. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it.
You find it to be elitist?
And this is based on a true story, man. I made a Reddit post a while ago, and I just wanted to find a solution. I was seeing all those memes about bag of holding. Everybody's using bag of holding because fuck the loot system in D&D. It's too complicated. You don't calculate pounds and shit like that.
Sure.
The usual. And everybody's using bag of holding or just not counting inventory. Okay. And my question was around
backpack of I hold everything.
I was just saying that, well, is there a solution to that? Can we make loot interesting? And it was just a question, And man, I got freaking bashed.
They lit you up, man.
People were so mad at me for trying.
You mean to tell me that you got yelled at for having a dissenting opinion on the internet?
Yeah. Yep.
But it wasn't even an opinion. It was formed as a question, not.
Yeah, people were weird. They were just defending their game like it was their precious thing that no one can talk about. I wasn't even insulting anybody. I was just asking that question, and exactly. They were like that.
They're precious.
And, we're Canadian. We can't insult people.
Yeah, I was nice to them. I went smoothly, and people were just, oh man, the community, the way they defend it, and I love D&D. The content is great. There's a lot of depth to it that ICRPG doesn't have yet because we don't have enough content yet.
Sure.
And I love D&D, but the community, man, you play with people, and every group is different. They all play differently, but they are all really freaking conservative about the way they play. If you mix up D&D groups, holy shit, you're in for a fight, man. Hey, he did 2 moves.
God forbid.
At my table, we don't do that. And I'm like, oh, well, it's not your table, man. What you going to do?
God forbid you try to change something about one of their classes.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. Yeah, don't do that.
I'm going to add something to what Mathieu said. What I hate about D&D, it's because D&D tries to cater to every interpretation of what a role-playing game is supposed to be, all at the same time. The intent to solve every... They try to put everybody together. Everybody has, I talked about, everybody has a mutual goal when they play, right? And what D&D always tries to do is your mutual goal is okay, and your mutual goal is okay, but they're exclusive. You can't if somebody wants to play a game like a video game, it's okay. If somebody wants to play a role-playing game, it's okay. But then when you try to put those two together, it just doesn't work.
You're mixing water and oil.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to
and
here, everyone join this giant group, and
yeah, exactly.
Somehow we'll make it all work.
And the way they try to justify it, what I read from that in the community is, well, this is not real role playing. Yeah, you're stupid. I'm gonna shame you, and I'm gonna use that as proof. And what this does to the hobby itself, well, first of all, it means that the hobby has as a general philosophy that design doesn't matter, nor does complete communication of how to play matters. And there's a lot of shaming involved when you're trying to argument. So like your argumentations are played on words, and like, well, that's not the correct interpretation of words. You're stupid. I'm smarter than you.
Sure.
I know.
It sounds like you're revolving kind of back to like the community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just to add.
Yeah, you're describing those beardy old gamers that are set in their ways.
But that's the way the book is made.
Exactly.
It's saying wargamers can fit with role players, and they can both fit with the guy who likes puzzle, and they can both fit with the other guy that we don't even know what they like. And
so
I will say that I have never seen not yet. I haven't seen that behavior out of anyone in the ICRPG
exactly
yet.
And on a parting note, games work because people agree to play by a set of rules. If the rules are unknowable, like in D&D, can you, like Hanks said, do you guys know every single rule in the book? No. Why would you learn that? It's completely stupid. It's dumb information. You don't even need that to live in real life. So what happens is people.
I lived and played through all of second edition. I still can't explain to you how FACO really works.
So that causes a problem. You have no basis of negotiation for the shared imaginated space we all have together, and because of that, it you can't really argument. Like your only argumentation is to shame other people because, well, nobody knows the rules. Every interpretation is okay, and you can't. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
So, I had a couple of things, but the biggest one, and it's interesting because it dovetails right off of what Mike was talking about. It's the need to constantly reference the Dungeon Master Guide to do anything, and the constant battle with the rules lawyer.
Preach, brother!
It's too complicated, and heaven help you if you have a grappling situation. And, it's just, everything from, what's my racial ability? What does this spell do? What damage dice does this weapon roll? What's the weight of this item? Like, am I encumbered? How much movement distance do I have because of my encumbrance? Like, what currency are we using right now? It's just, it got to be a little ridiculous. And I, like, before Index Card even came out, I was just like, you know what? We don't need item weights. It's dumb bullshit. Like, what does the real world need to show up in our little tabletop game? It's needless paperwork for me because my players don't want to do it. And it's like, well, with that, encumbrance is gone. Yay. So movement is just like, why do people need to be moving differently if there's any other reason than, like, something happened to them right then and there? Like, they got caught in a web or they got hit by a slow spell. So it's like, it's temporary,
Sure.
Or, and it's like, players should be, it's like,
quite cumbersome.
Sorry, Matt.
Quite cumbersome. Like I get what you're saying.
I mean, the book is, and it's a textbook, and it's, the actual rules for our ICRPG, like what you need to know how to play, it's a fraction of the actual core manual. And it's easily memorizable by game master and player alike. Like, pretty much, I mean, we have a lot of discussions on Google Plus about, like, the nitty-gritty of various rules here. But what I find that's interesting is that it's people asking questions about clarifications of various rules, like, buried within these, the guy who has the rule book handy, You'd have to tell me exactly how many pages of the manual are devoted specifically to gameplay. But, within those set pieces of pages, players are also reading it. I don't think that happens with the Dungeon Master Guide. I don't think Dungeon Masters read the Dungeon Master Guide. I know I did.
That's because it's 100% fluff.
Yeah.
How to play is 9 pages.
Yep. Thank you. It was even less than I thought it was.
Interesting point. So I've had several players that have never picked up ICRPG before. I've been running demos for them, and they know how to play 100% before the first session.
Okay, so first of all, let me say I had a fellow DM tell me here recently. He said, whenever I pick up a new RPG system, the first thing I do is I look at the grappling rule, because that's going to tell me a whole lot about the system. And that really stuck with me. So I just wanted to tack that on to John's point, because that really is the case. Now, I have not put this guy on to ICRPG yet. I can't wait until I do, because when he goes to look for the grappling rule, it's going to be an awesome day, I suspect.
Right.
True love at first sight.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly was for me. And you guys raise an interesting point about all the mechanics in ICRPG being so streamlined and intuitive and accessible and easy to grasp right out of the gate. Let me just say, I do not hate on D&D. I think 5th edition...
Nor should you.
I think 5th edition may be probably the best iteration of D&D that I've seen. I think the advantage and the disadvantage mechanic is just revolutionary. It's so intuitive in terms of a tool for a DM. That being said, my specific pain point with D&D, although I have several, but it's this. So here's this awesome book. And what I'm going to say about it is, this looks really nice on a shelf. It's got a lot of really cool artwork on it, or in it. The MSRP is also $50. And when you get past the pretty artwork and you really start to sink your teeth into this book, what you're going to find is there's a lot of coaching on narrative technique. So there's going to be a lot about world building, and you're going to get a lot about crafting a story and who, what, when, where, why, which are not bad things. However, this book does not give me any practical mechanical advice step by step about how to be a good DM and how to create encounters from a mechanical standpoint that are going to challenge my players and really engage them at the table.
And do you know a game system that does have that?
Well, I'm going to sound a little bit biased here, but I suspect my answer is going to be ICRPG.
Yeah. Can you hold it up, Matthew? There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So
the game mastery section.
I showed the counter, the other product. Let me show this one. But in any event, the current D&D DM's guide does not give you anything about mechanical technique. It doesn't give you anything about the art of room design. It doesn't talk about this idea of function and how function creates pinch points or pain points for your character in a room, or really sort of adding any sort of mechanical punch to your encounters. I love the fact that Hank and ICRPG take me through timers, threats, and treats. I love the fact that we talk about things like challenge tuning involving damage, disruption, and duration. All these key concepts that make me a better DM at the table and that give me practical advice on how to mechanically design encounters. I love the fact that ICRPG has all these encounter archetypes. I mean, everything from tangles to pinches to kites to a duel, all these types of different scenarios, and you just don't see that same level of advice in a $50 book. That looks good. It looks cool. It's got some cool tables and stuff in it, but truthfully, it doesn't make me better at the table, and it really doesn't help me. It's actually all sort of vague and nebulous it doesn't help me specifically create fun at my table. And that's one of the big pain points for me as far as all of D&D.
And just to pin something on there, if you need clarity on one of those concepts, there's also an hour-long video on YouTube explaining each of those things. You know?
Yeah, man, that's true.
Yep.
So you're saying that the game mastery book doesn't help to teach how to play, and the player's handbook doesn't teach how to play. Is that right? Did I get that? Or
I think the player's handbook is better. The biggest criticism I have with the player's handbook is that it really needs better organization. It needs to be way more streamlined. I think, Matthew, you had mentioned earlier when we were talking offline about all the page flipping you have to do even in character creation.
Oh my gosh.
So just for your freaking spells, man. Holy fuck.
Oh my gosh. I mean, if I have to download a third-party app just to keep track of that shit.
Oh yeah,
man,
word. The spells, man.
We all do.
Yep.
We all do.
Yeah, just I'm not even gonna. I don't even write them down. I'm just like, all right, great. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love it. Okay. However, that doesn't mean I don't have my bitches about it. Okay. Like, and one of the things is that the simulation. Okay, this is going to be my biggest thing, right? The simulation drives me crazy. You can only move, like, your movement is 30. Oh, you can't, like, can you see around that corner? Oh, you're in half cover. You're in 1/4 cover. That stuff is ridiculous, right? It is rules upon layers of rules, and it drives me crazy. I can't. I really don't like it. My encounters in 5th edition used to take all session long to complete, right? Now I can fit like 3 or more encounters into like a single like one night session because of ICRPG's focus on narrative play rather than that simulation, and that's the single largest thing for me. Like that's it.